guys, and we'll go into it. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I was going to say to a new episode of Citizen Cosmos, and it's almost like that. It's our Odyssey. Welcome to our Odyssey format, our live streaming with different validators, different projects, and everybody from around the ecosystem. And our goal today and here is to talk with Neutron. We have three guests. We have Spaydh, we have Soy, and we have Mike. Spaydh, some of our community listeners, members, listeners, what would be the right word here, have already heard, even saw probably. Whoever did go to the live recording, if you didn't, here is Spaydh himself, here is Soy, here is Mike. Guys, I'm gonna welcome, shut up talking, and like let you introduce yourselves briefly one by one, whatever you guys want to mention about yourself, and then we'll go into Neutron. So just let's start from you guys. Spied, maybe start with you.
Yeah, for sure. So my pseudonym is Spade. You might have
Spade.
heard about me as Avril, and I'm leading the Neutron team. Yeah, that's basically it.
I'm Soy. I'm the community manager for Neutron. Joined about a month or so ago now. I've been in the Cosmos for a little while and was lucky enough to get a role in Web3 with Neutron. Just happy to be here.
Mike.
Yeah, hey, and I am Mike. I'm developer on Neutron. I'm in Cosmos ecosystem since like 2019, so it's pretty it.
That is a very serious like start. Cosmos ecosystem 2019. No, seriously, man. Like bam, that is already OG. Like in Cosmos. I mean, considering we have started what in
2018,
well,
I guess.
yeah, yeah. The paper. I mean, you could go as far as 16, right? But I mean, that's the paper, right? So, and how's it been for you since like
Good
my
question,
question? First
actually.
question to you, considering you're an OG in Cosmos, how's it been for you and launching Neutron inside? It is true, guys. I don't know why you're making fun of Mike. Stop it, Spide. The guy has been like longer than anybody else here. Come on, man. Well, how's it been?
Well, I like Cosmos. I like developing Cosmos because it's like uh, Cosmos uses my like favorite language, Go, Rust. So I like it in all ways I can like it, and like I've never started a blockchain because I developed a lot of tools for Cosmos, but I've never launched a blockchain. So it's a pretty new experience for me launching Neutron. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
Quick question,
I'm like
actually, if I
Spade,
may.
please. You should,
Um,
not may. You should.
Andre, I think, as far as I know, implemented kind of like one of the first NFT standards in Cosmos. Were you part of
Y-
that project as well?
yeah. We developed it together. Yeah. Me, and Vasily. Yeah.
Nice, nice. There is another man. You're like, what the fuck, man? You have to like be a bit more all good about that stuff, man. Yeah, I'm sorry for the swearing, guys. Whoever's listening to the recording, but you know, Citizen Cosmos and swearing, they kind of go together. So unfortunately, that might happen. Guys, so let's get down to business, as we say. So a while ago, I did mention we had Spade on Citizen Cosmos podcast, and me and Spade discussed. Well, we discussed several things, really, not just Neutron, right? I think we went a bit further into validating, further into like acquiring value, and so on and so forth. But today's object, I guess, is for us to chew up what is Neutron, who is it for, and what is its purpose. So I'm gonna start actually with Soy, since he's being quiet. So I'm gonna put the spotlight on him. And in my
Thank you.
opinion, I'm gonna be sorry for that, but like I started off in working in blockchain as in community, and I'm still working in community. And I think that is the place where all the cool people start, in my opinion. So
God,
it is.
I hate to break that trend. You know.
Man, no. It's all good. I can feel it. Like, so before we go on, like in Spades and Mike's words as the developer and like, I don't know, the helper of the general manager, as Spade likes to put it, what Neutron is, I want to hear it from you because you're the person who working with the people. Blockchain is a communication tool. So it's all about communication, in my opinion, at least. Even if it's about the hardest, most difficult computation in the world, it's still about communication. So you work with the community. So what is Neutron in your words? How do you explain it to the people who you talk to, and what is it for? And anything else you want to add, of course.
Okay, that's a brutal but fair question. So yeah, I mean, like, to be honest with you, a big part of the reason for me to join Neutron was to sort of learn from the team and really get some experience in the space. So there's no way I can do like as much justice to an explanation of Neutron just yet as these guys, I'm sure. But you know, it's a smart contract platform. We're hoping that loads of exciting stuff is going to come and build on Neutron. And yeah, as and when all that kind of stuff starts to happen, then I think it's going to be sort of my job to help explain that to the community. And so we just have to sort of wait and see for the time being what exactly is going to come in the new year for Neutron.
Okay. Okay. Spaydh, what is like let's go even worse, and like we're gonna go like to the bottom of it. I mean, like, so Soy is saying Neutron is a smart contract platform. We're gonna go to Mike and ask him what is the speciality of the smart contract, so to speak. Why are they special in Neutron, or how is it different to any other smart contract platform? But or who does it reward that other smart contracts platform don't? But a question to you first: what on earth for the average user out there? Okay, I understand that most of our listeners, 99%, of course, they know what a smart contract is, but it's not just for them. I think, in my opinion, we could go further, and let's try to discuss why somebody who uses blockchain or wants to buy or purchase a blockchain token, or to participate in blockchain, why does it need smart contract platforms? And in particularly, why does it need smart contracts that Neutron is creating? Damn.
That's a tricky bunch of questions, I guess.
Yeah. Let's start.
Let's take it step by step, right? So
Yeah.
why smart contracts? Smart contracts are just a different ways to build applications. In Cosmos, we have one kind of like main way that we've been building applications. We've been building them as blockchains themselves, right? So the application is mixed with the code of the blockchain that makes the computer kind of like do things together, right? Smart contracts are a bit different. They're, you have the blockchain, the platform on one level, and then on top of it, you can put a smart contract, which is a self-contained application, right? So you have, like you have a phone. Inside this phone, you have multiple applications, right? So that's basically a smart contract platform. It's the same. If you, I don't know, you probably didn't have this. So in France, well, no, actually, very bad example. Who has an example of something that is done for one purpose and one purpose only, and you couldn't use it for anything else?
That is difficult, straight from the top.
I know, right?
I have a bad one, but I'm not going to say it out loud. So let's not go into my examples.
Go on. Sorry. You'll be on the spot too.
I was thinking about condoms, but like I'm not sure if that is a good example.
Yeah, no, okay, it's actually not the worst example, I guess. So let's go with it. So yeah, a condom. So there's one obvious use for it, and you could try to use it in another way, but it probably wouldn't be so great. So yeah, that's basically it. On the one hand side, you have a device that is designed to contain multiple applications that are, small packets that can be added or removed from the device. And on the other side, you have one thing that is designed for one purpose and to do that very, very well, basically. So smart contracts are cool because they're more versatile. They're more lightweight, and so bringing them to Cosmos is a way to hopefully kind of like increase the velocity at which we're developing new things that we can do in this ecosystem and make it more interesting to be part of Cosmos, I guess.
What's special? Because as far as anybody or myself at least concerned, and I'm gonna pretend I'm really like out of everything right now, but it's good for you to explain to me. Like imagine I'm interested in smart contract platforms, and I'm interested in Cosmos. So I'm already seeing, like, when I go in Juno, I'm seeing other things. Why? How is Neutron different? What is Neutron's value proposition around smart contracts in particular right now, or not just smart contracts?
If we really break it down for like Li5, I think there are two: security and interoperability. Right? That's it. Now we can get deeper. There are actually others, but let's focus on these two. First, security. Well, intrusion security allows us to, at launch, have the same security as the Cosmos Hub, one of the top 10 most secure proof-of-stake blockchains. And that's a huge kind of like advantage, because when you launch a new blockchain in Cosmos, you have to bootstrap the validator set, the market cap, all these things. With interchain security, you don't need to do that. But even if you were to launch your own product as an app chain on interchain security, you would be paying that cost on your own, right? You're the only one to pay the fees. Whereas if you launch on Neutron, not only do you get the full security of the Cosmos Hub, but you're only paying a share of that cost, because you're contributing with other participants, all the other applications, all the users of Neutron. Together, we're all paying this cost together, which means that it's much cheaper for everybody, right? So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is interoperability. So on basically every smart contract platform, except perhaps a few obscure, like I think Icon has something similar that they're trying to do. But basically on most smart contract platform today, the applications, the app you release on that blockchain only works on that blockchain. The point of Neutron is to try to allow you to create applications that work on Neutron, but also work on all of the blockchains that are connected via IBC, and fill a few other requirements, like most probably having interchain accounts enabled, so that instead of having every chain has different dApps and you need to adapt to this, perhaps we can make a version of Cosmos where you have one front end for every application, and you don't need to care about which blockchain you're on, bridging your assets back and forth between chains. Perhaps you can just use the services you want to use from wherever you are in Cosmos, and then get the assets you want to get on whatever chain you want to get them, essentially. Basically, we're trying to remove all the complexity of having multiple blockchains in the same ecosystem and just make it way easier to navigate.
A devil's advocate question, but isn't the idea to have as many blockchains as possible?
Yeah, but you can't do that if it's a huge pain in the to navigate this ecosystem, right?
Okay, absolutely.
So by removing the complexity, we actually help this happen, because we make it way more fun to be part of that ecosystem of thousands of blockchains.
If I was to, and then this is to anybody of you who wants to take, and I will probably I want to ask Mike a few technical questions, but before that, again, like if I was to, for example, take Ethereum or Bitcoin as an example, and to say, imagine this was right now 2015, the year is 2015, and I'm talking to Ethereum developers, and I'm saying, so what is the purpose of Ethereum, and what's it going to be in 7 or 8 years? And I think it's a very good way to explain. If I was somebody in 2015 explaining Ethereum, what it is, then the easiest, because now we know what happened, right? So of course it's easy to explain it. We would say, oh, Ethereum is going to become the the computation layer one in blockchain, the computation number one layer in blockchain that most developers are going to use to rent computation from, and on top of it build their applications, which going to have separate logic and blah blah blah. I mean, it's quite easy because we know what happened with Ethereum. If we were to play along with that game now, and to try to say what is happening in Neutron in 5 years' time. I know this is crazy, but you guys must have a vision, right? There must be a vision which is strategic, which is saying, okay, we want to achieve that. So not maybe what's going to happen with it, but maybe a little bit more who will be using it, and what will they be doing on Neutron, those people who will be using it in the future in 5 years' time.
Yeah, so trying to break it down, I think we can generalize by saying there are 2 categories of people who will be directly interacting with it, right? There's going to be the validators, but because there will be mostly kind of working with the hub in a way, let's isolate them for now. Basically, there will be the users, people using Neutron to do stuff, and then the developers, basically people building businesses on top of Neutron. And so for the users, people who use the blockchain, the goal is to create kind of like a home in the interchain, right? It's a chain that you can use to access everything else in the interchain. So you want to do a swap on osmosis, you can do it from Neutron because there's a nice outpost, kind of like proxy contract. you don't need to bridge back and forth. The smart contracts do it for you, so that your experience is way easier. You just you go to the interface, you click the button, you sign one transaction, everything happens in the background, and you get what you wanted. Basically, you don't have to care about the fact that these are multiple blockchains, they're connected via IBC. IBC is a Litecoin-based bridge implementation. Let's forget about all of this. Basically, it's your home, right? So you can keep your assets there. You can move them all around to put them wherever you want. You can keep them in control by basically owning the accounts that they move to, controlling them from either directly your wallet or from the smart contracts of applications that you're using, and you can benefit from the services of all of the other blockchains in Cosmos, meaning Stargaze, Osmosis, Yumi, all of the projects basically. Now, from the developer's perspective, it's kind of like it's the best place to put your command center, right? So this app chain thesis means that there's going to be like a lot of different blockchains that do different things, right? And you'll have kind of like marketplaces, kind of like hubs, right, where a lot of these services and products come together, and where most of the activity happens, right? A lot of applications will want to be on all of these hubs, right? On all of these hotspots of activity. And so, instead of kind of like creating one deployment and then kind of like customizing it again and then making another deployment and then just, creating siloed, separated kind of like deployments, you can instead have all of them being coordinated, connected by kind of like a central coordination layer to make sure that your services and stuff are provided as efficiently and as well as possible. And so basically, Neutron is the best place to put that command center, basically the thing that kind of like moves your liquidity around or kind of like regulates your other deployments. So for users, it's going to be your home in the interchain, and for developers, it's going to be kind of like your command center. You can be everywhere, and you can make it kind of like act as one using Neutron's infrastructure.
So I guess it's kind of like for users, what I have written down from you're trying to also summarize that it's like access aggregator, just a simple, it's like a one access point, one stop point to I'm aggregating access to other blockchains or from here. And for developers, it's kind of like coordination, layer for interchain developers, right? So
yeah,
in a sense,
for users, it's not just an access aggregator, because like there will be local stuff that you can only find on Neutron too. So it has its own kind of ecosystem, plus it aggregates the access to everything else.
Mm-hmm. Could you say something very stupid that it's like google.com in a way, a little bit? Because like I'm coming to google.com when I want to search a lot of things, because Google offers a lot of its own services, which is up in the top right corner. I know it's a bad example. I know you guys don't. I can see that you already don't resonate with it, but I was trying to kind of like go somewhere there. Okay, bad example. Mike, I'm gonna go to you because they don't like me. I'm sorry. Spaydh has mentioned interchain accounts, and he mentioned having controlling your access to different places, to different blockchains. What is the progress currently with all of that? I mean, interchain accounts is, as far as I know, is completely something not even the word untested comes to mind, but that's, I think, an understatement. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm wrong. Could you, from your perspective, from a developer perspective, talk a little bit about the work you guys are doing with interchain accounts and interchain security, and how is that progress going right now?
Interchain accounts were ready, so the code was merged into ABC Go repository, so it was kind of ready. What we did, we just implement we implemented interoperability for Cosmos contracts to use it from the smart contract. So it was impossible to use interchain accounts from Cosmos smart contracts. And what we did, we connect smart contracts and interchain accounts in Neutron. So now it's pretty easy to control other accounts on different networks, on remote networks from Neutron. Yeah. And with interchain security, we are in a testnet right now. in a game of chains. So yeah, and it's pretty good, I think. Yeah.
Do you have, were there any things when during testing that came as a surprise in a bad way or in a good way?
Um, I'm pretty familiar with Cosmos ecosystem, like in a technical side of things. So there was no surprises for me. Yeah.
And for everybody else though, for the validators and for everybody else, do you think there was something that they were like, oh my god, this is not too complex to work with, or the opposite?
I think there were no changes in from the validators context in the context of interchain accounts, because it's just some additional code in the Cosmos SDK. So no.
The guys
Actually,
here are
there's one
Go on,
thing.
Spaydh.
There's one thing that I think, as a community, not everyone has realized yet. So I'll just say it so that to help kind of like spread this. But interchain secured chains like Neutron and the others, we are secured by Atom, right? But we can't mint Atom. So when we launch, we're not going to create a whole bunch of atoms. The annoying but also kind of like normal thing about this means that we can't do foundation delegations, unfortunately. And so like we appreciate tremendously the fact that like a lot of validators have been like very interested in like committing and stuff. But every time we get asked like, hey, can we get a delegation in exchange for it? It's like, we'd love to do that, but unfortunately we don't have the Atom that it takes to make a delegation. So sorry.
I think it would be a perfect place to ask. I know it wasn't supposed to be now, but there is a couple of questions that are coming from YouTube, I'm assuming, or maybe it's from Discord, but I'm assuming this is YouTube. I'm sorry, guys, because I'm talking to the listeners here, the screen of Riverside, so the questions are thrown to me in a chat. I'm sorry, I don't know where they're coming from, but this is a perfect place to ask it. Will there be a token on Neutron, his own token, since you mentioned what you mentioned right now, Spaydh?
Yeah, most likely. So the thing is, like, if we really simplify, a smart contract platform's token does two things. It creates a game between the validators and the platform and other participants to ensure that the blockchain is going to remain secure, meaning it rewards good behaviors, it punishes bad behaviors in order for the system to keep running without relying on one guy sitting in the middle and saying, how things should go. Like, it's a decentralized network, but it works because it has kind of like an incentive system. Atom will be the token that does this, right? Now, there's another function which we still need to take care of despite interchain security, which is to create a similar game, but this time between kind of like the DeFi users and the dApp builders, right? So the idea is like, okay, how do we make an incentives game that allows people who like to create value, to bring new stuff, to experiment, to create like new protocols, new applications, to make cool community events, all that kind of stuff. And how do we ensure that people participate in this, are rewarded when they contribute, are punished when they try to destroy things, basically, or to do things that hurt the blockchain, for example, like trying to spam transactions for nothing. And basically the token kind of like serves that purpose. It also provides a tool to make decisions together, basically, governance.
There is a very nice cat in the background. Mine is also trying to break the door, but hello from my cat.
Apologies for that.
Cat. No, don't apologize. My cat is also trying to break the door, so it's all good. It's like I'm gonna break in and ask questions too. I mean, there's several times now. I mean, actually, I want to go back to Soy, but before that, there is several times now you mentioned applications, development of different things, access point, developers going. What do you envision being built with the help of Neutron smart contracts? What are you not maybe envision, but what would you want to see? What would you like? Which kind of developers, in which direction you like them to work in your ideal kind of picture?
Okay, so I mean, we can actually kind of go back to your previous question about Ethereum in a way, because you sort of asked like, what would Ethereum look like what if we imagined what Ethereum would look like 5 years after it started, we can sort of still apply that to Cosmos. And basically Cosmos is frankly like a little bit behind the times in terms of DeFi. There's a lot of stuff that you can do on Ethereum that you can't do on Cosmos yet. And we like to think that Neutron is going to open the door to the future of DeFi in Cosmos. So what is Neutron going to look like in 5 years, and what we're going to do, what we're going to see on the platform? We're going to see lending protocols, money markets, DEXs, really sort of open the door to the future of DeFi in Cosmos.
Oh, sorry, I thought I was on mute and I wasn't asking the question because I was like, oh, I'm on mute. They're probably not going to hear me. Is there any particular examples that you, for example, that you see on Ethereum today that you would love to see coming here? I mean, Aave, for example, or anything else. I don't know. Sorry, why Aave came to mind.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's an obvious call. These are the building blocks of DeFi. You need lending protocols, you need DEXs, you need all this kind of stuff to create a DeFi ecosystem. So yeah, are we going to get Aave built on Neutron? I don't know. Who knows? Are we going to get something like Aave? Yeah, probably. Mm-hmm. And so yeah, I think we're looking for the Aave-like products, Aave-like protocols. All that kind of stuff to come and build on Neutron.
What's, in your opinion, for the community, what comes first, DeFi or NFTs?
Oof. I mean, can we not have both?
So if I had the choice now between 5,000 artists and, I don't know, 5,000 crazy guys who want to sell and buy and lend, who would I choose? Who would to succeed, to build a better community, stronger community?
I mean, I know. It's horses for courses, as we say, isn't it? Some people like their NFTs, some people are here for the DeFi and the yields. Okay. Yeah, eventually, we will have all of that. Okay. But yeah, could I pick one? No, I don't think I'd like to alienate half of the community.
Okay. Cool. It was a funny thing. Well, not funny. I don't know why I always say that word because it wasn't funny. It was just what it was. But anyways, we had a special on the road 2-part episode in Lisbon, where we recorded different developers from around Cosmos ecosystem mainly. And one of the questions to all of them was, if you were starting up a new project, would you pick 5,000 people, cool people to your community who would never, the condition is they will never learn coding, never, ever, ever, or you would pick 3 cool developers to start up your community? And it was interesting to see the different choices and answers people chose. But of course, I think like yourself, like what you say right now, I think is kind of the perfect answer. In a sense, everybody is good, right? Like you have to have everyone. It depends on which stage you are. And
yeah, it's almost like a bit of a chicken and egg situation, isn't it? There's actually a really interesting prop got up on Edmos recently where they're trying to make a community spend to fund some marketing. And some people are talking about we should be targeting devs, and some people are talking about we should be targeting the community. And yeah, I don't know what the right answer is to that question, to be honest with you. In an ideal world, yeah, you'd like to have both.
I think it's the $1 billion question when it comes to blockchain. What is the right answer to that? What would be, this is again to anybody of you who want to answer. You guys mentioned developers. Again, we talked about it several times. Users coming, people using it as an access point, aggregator point, How are we going? But we cannot mint. We don't have tokens. Oh, we can, of course. We do have tokens, but Neutron uses Atom. And usually it's very common for anyone that come into a new blockchain. Like I'm going to use Juno and single them out here. Sorry about it, guys, from Juno, if you are listening. But, of course, their obvious incentive for people is Juno. Or if it's on other blockchains, one of the obvious incentives is to use your own token. I'm not saying whether it's good or bad right now. How are we going to incentivize all those developers and all those content creators and, I don't know, NFT creators, whatever, who are going to come to Neutron? What is the plan to incentivize them and how?
Well, I think there's a few things, right? Like we tend to jump directly into the incentives question framed as money, basically. But the first one is that there's 2 broad categories of incentives. The first one is like extrinsic incentives, like I'll give you an apple or I'll give you $10 to do that. But there's also like the intrinsic incentives. Like a lot of the people who built the coolest applications in DeFi did so because they thought it was really interesting to do so, right? So empowering these people to do so, making it way easier for them to do so, providing them the tools, the platforms, the infrastructure, making sure that they don't like to reduce all of the unnecessary work that they would otherwise have to do is also already kind of like a way to empower people to build the things that they want to build, right? So I think that's kind of like the first part and the most important one. Then at the same time, we do live in a world where, like food isn't free and everybody has to eat, right? And so I think once again, there's two parts to this. The first one is we want to give an unfair advantage to the dApps that chose choose to launch on Neutron. We want to help them be profitable. We want to help them, grow their protocols and kind of like, they're building a business. Let's help make them successful businesses. And the second part is that, like, obviously sometimes the hurdle is funding, right? Like you need to be able to bootstrap your team. You need to perhaps have access to some infrastructure and all that kind of stuff. And so we're, working on a framework for Neutron, which is essentially we're separating kind of like various functions of governance, and we're only putting the very crucial bits in, like kind of like we only enshrine kind of like the very crucial bits that are required to have a governance system, and then all the rest we're kind of like opting for a bit of a modular approach, right? So over time will enable new ways of kind of like allocating our money as a community so that we can help anyone who wants to build something cool to do so by allocating, like some support in a financial way, I guess, to them. And so over time, we'll refine exactly the ways we do this, because there have been like many attempts. A lot of them have been somewhat successful. A lot of them have failed tremendously. And so instead of enshrining one solution as like, oh, we're just going to do things this way, we made a framework that allows us to basically, improve over time, essentially. But yeah, in a few words, that means we'll probably be giving grants. We'll probably help our protocols expand cross chains to reach new markets. We'll probably help our protocols like aggregate more liquidity so that they can become more usable, can get to the stage where suddenly other people can start integrating with them, creating new use case for their products, all that kind of stuff.
Stupid question. Where is the money coming from?
So there's a few ways. Like our DeFi, like decentralized financial systems, are still driven by speculation. So there's a bit of that, and we can see it as bad because, like, on the downside, yeah, it hurts. We're kind of like in the middle of that right now, so I think everybody can feel the pain. At the same time, in a way, it kind of like helps bootstrap a lot of the coolest thing that we now use. So that will be a part of it. There's actual work of people being kind of like invested in this. This is value. Does it translate into price? Like that's a whole kind of like part of the economic theory which nobody has figured out yet. How does that work? But anyway, and then there's also like hard cash, right? So where people, when they move their assets into Neutron and they start transacting, they'll be paying a transaction fees, and that is actual value that enters the system, right? So, there's
no, it's important. It's important. I think one of the very underestimated questions in blockchains is not exactly where is the money coming from, but because it's not difficult to follow the money, right? I mean, unless, well, it's not very difficult, let's be honest, but it's much more difficult to make sure that money will feed the right project for the right amount of time. And I'm not talking any project in particular here, but I've been raising this question in Cosmos Hub in 2020 on Prop 26, which was rejected actually. And it's funny seeing the Atom 2.0 paper after that, but it's a big question, in my opinion, that people should ask in 2020. We're still asking in 2022. So I think, like, from myself personally, I would love, as somebody who's also validating Neutron, and interested in Neutron succeeding, I think it's very good for us to understand like that the more value we can accrue at this stage, the more diverse we can create it. I think that would be more beneficial, right? Mike, about smart contracts, I keep meaning to ask this question, and it's kind of in my head. I mean, so again, for I know to you it might sound a bit silly, but you do know the Cosmos ecosystem very well. And what if is there a difference? And if what is the difference between the way, for example, Juno or Agoric create their smart contracts and to how Neutron is going to be using smart contracts?
From the developer side of view, there is no difference because it's the same technology like Cosmosm. So no, Neutron brings like two new technologies. It's interchain accounts and interchain queries. So if developers want to use it, so we need to use our SDK to use it. So in general, there is no like difference to deploy on Juno, to deploy on Neutron Cosmos smart contracts. It just like features you want to use.
What about Agoric? Things like that. I don't know how much you are familiar with them because
Uh,
I'm only so.
Honestly, I'm not familiar
Okay.
with algorithms.
Okay. To be honest, I'm not as deeply as familiar to be able to answer that as well. So I was hoping to pick on you. Spaydh, did you
Well,
want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think from a very high, like as far as I know, Agoric, like the main project of Agoric is building a virtual machine. So, you know, a way to run smart contracts, but that aren't coded in Rust like in Cosmosm, but coded in JavaScript, right? So it's a different language,
Yeah.
right? So I would imagine
Of
that
course.
it would be fairly different.
Yeah, of course. I was just curious from a perspective, like if we do know, like to go a little bit down, but yeah, thanks, of course. But and on kind of it ran away from me. It was there and it ran away. There was a question that I had from the audience. Again, I don't know. Again, I'm sorry to the listeners where it came from because I had it on a list here. It's a bit of a like drama question, but I guess Cosmos and drama kind of go hand in hand.
Well, thanks for asking then.
Of course. No, it's not like a drama. It's not a bad drama question, not at all. Don't worry. I'm making it sound a lot worse than it is. The question is simple. Did the Atom 2.0 voting hurdle affect the launch of Neutron? But it's a question I had. So
Launch? No. Unless as a community we completely turn around and we say, like we invested all this time and attention in discussing and envisioning kind of like interchain security on the hub, in discussing how the hub would accrue value, and in funding Neutron as well. And we say we take all of this, we throw it out the window. Unless we do this, which I really don't think we will, then Neutron has no downside from us taking more time to discuss whether or not we want Atom 2.0 on the hub. And if so, like how to have it. The reason for that is simply that, like Atom 2.0 is kind of like the paper intends to be like kind of like this comprehensive vision of like, this is what we want it to look like once we're finished with it. And so because of it, it includes like a lot of elements, a lot of moving pieces, right? There's liquid staking, there's interchain security, there's the allocator, the scheduler, all of the governance infrastructure. There's a ton of things in there, right? But actually not all of this needs Atom 2.0 to exist, right? Liquid staking right now already exists. It's already happening. So even if we vote against that paper, it's not going to cancel Stride, for example, right? It's not going, like Quicksilver is not going to stop existing. Same thing goes for interchain security, right? Interchain security has taken months of development. It's a technology that's like almost ready. It's a very direct, like a clear way to accrue value to the hub, which, as a community, we've been kind of like looking for something like this for a while. And so I think it makes a lot of sense that it will hit the hub, and that, as long as that happens, then, Neutron can launch soon after. There will be another governance proposal saying like, hey, now the hub is interchain security. Neutron, we've been working for a while to develop an interchain secure chain. Shall we launch together? And yeah, that will be it.
Makes
I
sense.
mean, the simple answer to it is that really, Atom 2.0, Prop 82, Prop 72, is it 82, 72? 82. It doesn't really affect anything. Whether it passed or failed, the outcome was the same. There's going to be more discussions, more proposals, all this kind of stuff. I think the process was more healthy than the outcome. And that's a simple answer for me.
That is a very good, actually, addition in my
Yeah,
opinion. That the
100%.
process about the process and perfect, I think.
Quoted.
Quoted. Damn, round people. There is a question I'm gonna ask, as it is here in the chat. I guess it's coming from YouTube. I can kind of answer partially myself, but I'll let you guys do it. Will there be a testnet where to simulate transactions and engage with the platform through Kepler wallet, and will there be rewards for that? Well, I guess I can answer, but the guys can too. So
Yeah, go on. Actually,
well,
give the answer, and then we'll review it. We'll tell you to do a good job.
I can. Do I get hired if I do? Well, of course, as for every testnet, it's up to the developers and up to the testnet itself to decide whether to not have testnets with rewards. So I'm assuming there might be. That depends on the guys if they're going to launch it. But most likely, I'm assuming that it's only for validators, and usually the testing is for people who hold infrastructure. It would be interesting to hear from you if you're planning to change that and not to let just users with infrastructure test the platform, but maybe like the person asking the question, there will be a possibility for a normal user without holding any infrastructure connect his Kepler wallet and test some features and get rewards, which I doubt, but I might be all wrong. So to you.
Well, I really want to know the answer to this question as well, because I get asked it all the time on Discord, and I'd love to have a non-fob off answer for it, really.
So yeah, so the current, basically Neutron right now has been running on two testnets, right? It's running on Quark testnet, our first kind of non-intrusion secure testnet, which also wasn't incentivized. Just as you said, the goal here was really to just test the features, make sure they work, make sure that we try to identify all the bugs that we can, and that was the only goal. And so to make it as efficient as possible at exactly this, we didn't focus on making it convenient for people to use, right? The people who would be testing were people who are going to be using the command line interface anyway. But that's a very, very early testnet, right? Now we're also running on the intrusion secure testnet. It might be a bit better kind of setup, because there's a lot of Cosmos participants. For some tasks that might actually have implemented explorers and stuff. Actually, the P2P team, if you go to our Twitter right now, there's a dashboard that kind of allows you to see the various metrics from all the chains. I assume that there's perhaps some wallets that have been deployed, so perhaps you can start playing around with it. But just know that Neutron currently is live on intrusion security in the game of chains right now. I think what we're really asking here is are we going to have a nice testnet with Kepler support and everything that we need to just pretend that it's mainnet, and it's basically the same thing except this one is not the official one, right? There are two ways we can do this. The first one is we can make another version of Neutron that is not intrusion secured and run it ourselves with help of validators and stuff, but kind of run it without the hub is what I mean. But that kind of makes less sense, I guess. So ideally, what we would want to do is to wait until the hub's testnet gets intrusion security itself, and then launch Neutron's testnet as an intrusion secure chain by the Cosmos Hub testnet, basically, because this would basically recreate the way it will be on the mainnet, right? But we're not sure exactly what are the plans for the Cosmos Hub's testnet right now, so we're kind of figuring this out with the other teams, basically. As far as I know, we there is no kind of committed plans on the evergreen testnet, but it does make sense for us to eventually have a testnet where people can really get a feel of what Neutron will look like, and developers can start building stuff.
I think it's actually very cool to. I think the closest to that I know where, and I'm sorry for everybody who's done that, and I'm not mentioning them, but the only project I know that kind of went that way was Cyber Bostrom, the What the Fuck project of Cosmos. I love the guys, come on, but they kind of let the users test and as well. But I'm not even sure if they had rewards. But anyways, it would be cool to see the first proper example of blockchain that is saying, in Cosmos, let's just not wait for people with infrastructure to test. Let's see
Yeah.
what users that are
Working
going
on
to
it,
use
sir.
us. Yeah, I have a strange question. Does anybody remember Emeris?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, the old hub aggregator thing, whatever it was.
So while we were talking, I have like Emeris here written down, and I mean the question was, who's your competition, or who do you consider to be competition, if you consider any competition at all in the Cosmos ecosystem? But as I was to ask that, I also remembered Emeris, because we were saying, aggregators, one-stop points, but Emeris didn't fly, didn't succeed. Are there any similarities between what Emeris was supposed to offer and what Neutron is supposed to be offering?
I mean, the way I see
Question?
it, like,
I
okay,
really,
actually, sorry,
well,
please.
I'm not going to take it. I'm just going to say you're really testing my memory of a relic,
So
Emirates.
so I remember. No, I'll be honest with you guys, because I remember we had Gautier from Emirates, and I'm sorry, but I think it was Ignite or Tendermint, what he was working for. I kind of lost track sometimes of the amount of bodies
It
there.
was yeah, Ignite, wasn't it, project?
Ignite. And I remember he mentioned that the idea that they wanted to do was to create like a one-stop shop for all the apps built on Cosmos, which is kind of the sentence that sounded here from Spaydh. So I'm trying to think. I'm not saying let's put them in the same thing. I'm just saying, that's what he was said. And I'm thinking, was it too early to create a one-stop place for everyone? Is it much better now? Or IBC wasn't around, as far as I remember, or was it? Or was it just being introduced? IBC, it was.
To be honest, it's really difficult to answer because Emirates never really existed,
Yeah, exactly.
did it?
No.
So I suppose it's just almost impossible to answer.
Damn. Okay, let's go into the competition question, guys. Who do you guys see on in the Cosmos ecosystem as your competitors, if any? And what are you guys learning from these competitors, if anything?
Okay, hot tech. We actually don't have competitors because focusing on interoperability means you need to have other things to connect with. And so basically the cool thing about Neutron is that you can have stuff that exists on multiple blockchains and leverage the specificity of every network for so basically, let's say, okay, you want to make a cross-chain DEX, right? Say optimize it, say an injective, actually, both of them optimize for, like very high performance. And that's pretty cool for a DEX, right? And so you can make a DEX that exists on multiple blockchains and is coordinated across all of these blockchains thanks to Neutron and thanks to its infrastructure. And that, has at least one deployment on either say or injective, that, this deployment is where you can get like that very fast kind of like execution, right? Other networks may have like, I don't know, like maybe fair blocks, right? You can leverage the fact that fair blocks allows you to get like MEV resistance to kind of like route some of your orders or something through there to get that nice property on the way, right? You can leverage secrets, kind of like privacy or secret or penumbra, right? And you can get that advantage as well. And you can have a version at least of your product or service that has this feature as well, right? So it's, yeah, not much competition going around. Like we need guys to build kind of like different and interesting kind of like blockchains and environments so that we can also kind of like connect with it.
Fair enough. I like that answer. I have. I know I don't make sense sometimes, but I'm gonna try. So, like, to take everything we've said here, right? So we have an aggregator, an access point, smart contracts. We have interchain security. We have interoperability. We have like a one-stop place for people, the developers. All of that, but or not but. I don't know if the word "but" is the correct thing. There is something new being introduced here. And that new is that usually in blockchains, and I know Spaydh, you've already said, hey, value can be different. And I will be the first person to agree with you. Like, trust me, like, seriously, value doesn't have to be money. And I really like,
But
I
still, when
absolutely.
airdrop.
Exactly. So, like, this is very new, I guess, for everybody because there aren't today many examples apart from very, very few. And those have a very specific purpose. So here we have two things. There is no, like, how to say, it's not a specific, there is a specific purpose, but it's more of an aggregator than something that does just it and that's it. I mean, you mentioned yourself, right? There is a lot of other things you will be able to do there inside.
It's a platform, not an application. So
yes,
yeah,
exactly.
it optimizes
So,
for the needs of applications to do various things rather than optimizing for one specific use case. Yes.
so to change what I'm saying, to make it like clearer, I think I know of application examples in blockchains where there are no rewards and people already use them. Well, for example, I think, but still they have their own token usually. But I can think of those who don't. Or we have like a general purpose blockchain with blackjack, and all of the rest that is being offered with it, right? And here we have something different. Here we're saying, okay, we haven't two at the same time. It's not an application. It's general purpose. But there isn't a token, right, that you can milk, and which is a good thing in a sense. So it's going to be like a new paradigm in a sense where users.
We didn't say that there wouldn't be a token though.
But at the beginning there isn't. At the beginning there isn't, right? So there isn't a direct reward for you to use the platform. This is something we don't know yet. Okay. Here is what I'm getting wrong. Okay.
I mean, like, and once again, like, even if we launch without a token, I mean, Optimism and Arbitrum launched without a token. Right?
Yes, and this was my kind of question. The resume, it wasn't a bad thing. I was actually going to bring it into this resume of. So we have this paradigm, which was actually, like you yourself mentioned, very well observed.
I think basically there are trade-offs for both kind of like solutions, right? I mean, as everybody is aware, like anything pertaining to a token needs to be like very well considered because there is currently significant kind of like regulatory scrutiny and like pressure and also uncertainty. And so you need to be very careful on how you approach things, like both in how the token itself functions and how it's distributed and stuff like this, right? There's this. And then on the other hand, it's kind of convenient to not launch a token directly because then you can gather more data about who has been doing what and how have they been kind of like interacting with the blockchain and stuff like this. At the same time, because you don't have a token yet, then you need to find other ways to do, for example, kind of like general like community decision making, basically. Like how do we get together without knowing each other and make decisions together, right? One way to do this is to kind of like go the non-Cosmos way, I guess, which is we get together, we convince a sufficient amount of people who are involved in this, and then we just hard fork and we make a new version of the blockchain with the change that we wanted. This works, but in the context of interchain security, it's a bit more difficult because we also have to coordinate with the hub, right? So, there are trade-offs here that needs to be considered carefully.
All I'm saying, if I would be listening correctly, if I was here, I'd be going to test Neutron if I was a user, because maybe I'm hearing kind of like Arbitrum Uniswap kind of like echoes here. Just saying.
Also, so that's why we got like 500 applications for the testnet, right?
Damn. No, like in all seriousness, it is something that I think for a long time, and you yourself, you work with Konstantin, or you know Konstantin, right? And the reason I'm mentioning his name is because, well, it's been when we used to work together and we used to already back in 2015 and 16 think of some ways of not giving money as a direct reward, not because it's a bad thing, but it does create certain things and certain assumptions from users which take whatever you are doing, application or platform, in a very specific way, and it's guided by a very specific flow after that. So I think but it was too early back then to do that. So what I was trying to get at really is that I think, and you mentioned Arbitrum and Optimism, there is this new paradigm of saying, hey guys, you don't need the token straight away. There is other ways to be rewarded. There is other ways to go about it. And this is what I'm kind of seeing what you guys are doing in a way. I don't know if I'm wrong on that take, but hey.
Yeah, I mean, like, I agree that this makes sense. I agree that there's another way to do things, and I'm actually kind of like bullish on things that at least can afford to not have a token. because it's kind of like been the norm, and some projects have kind of like defied this norm. Bullish on that. Now, did I say Neutron won't have a token? No. Did I say it will have a token at launch? No. Haha.
Nice. I'm trying to read here more questions that I had out, and I think the only one that I didn't ask was, it's in Russian, so I'm gonna translate it as I go to English. Although Mike would probably understand me, but still, will interchain security bury the small validators, and how will it affect decentralization in the Cosmos ecosystem? I guess it could be kind of to you.
It's a good question. I think it's something that we need to talk more about, to be honest with you. Hopefully after Game of Chains finishes, that can kind of come on the agenda a little bit more. Yeah, I don't really have. I probably have more questions than answers about that, to be honest with you. But I definitely think that interchain security, the effect on validators, how those extra nodes are funded, definitely needs to be discussed.
Yeah. So, guys, if we were, I mean, I see the question about GNO, guys, but I guess it's already kind of been answered in the other examples in the same way, unless you guys do want to anything about GNO.
GNO? What's the question?
Well, there is a question about will it be a competitor to Neutron, but it's kind of already been answered in other examples, I guess.
I don't know. It was like it started off as like a fork of the hub or something. It was supposed to be back in the day, wasn't it? I'm not quite sure how that's going so far, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I guess again. I'm sorry, guys, to skip the question. Whoever asked it, but I think it sounded to me like whatever Spaydh and Soy and Mike were saying before, are kind of the same in the same directions to the competitors' questions. I don't see that as any difference here. I apologize if there is. If we were guys to resume all that, because let's try to do that. How would you resume that one by one? Maybe I'm gonna ask all three of you, and maybe you could target each what is dearer to your heart. So, why do I need Neutron, and how can I already today help you guys build Neutron? That's so two questions in one. Let's go one by one. Why do I need Neutron, and how do I help you to build Neutron? Whoever wants to start.
Okay, so I mean, I'll give you a little insight. I mean, I've not been at Neutron so long. I'm still learning a lot about the place, but what I can tell you is a little bit about the people behind the project. I've been really impressed by the team so far. There's a lot of good development going on. Everyone's really sort of excited to build Neutron and like I say, bring the future of DeFi to Cosmos. So I guess that's the kind of thing that most excites me about it.
Mike, what about your perspective as a developer? Why do I as a developer need Neutron? What will it solve for me?
Well, because of Neutron is a smart contracts platform, it's easier to develop a smart contract than develop a whole new Cosmos chain. So it's the first thing, because it's easier to develop a project. It's more secure because of interchain security, and again because of Cosmos Bosom and Cosmos Bosom SDK written in Rust. Also because of interchain accounts and interchain queries, the whole Cosmos ecosystem is open for developers, so you can build a fully interchain project, DeFi projects, deploying only on one chain on Neutron, and you can interact with any Cosmos chain connected to Neutron. And it's more TVL, it's more like users projects to interact, and yeah, it's a whole new it's a whole ecosystem for you on a just new chain, one chain. Yeah, so that's it.
Spaydh, what about like the resume? I guess not for a particular type of target audience, but well, you can choose as well to do that. But why do I need Neutron, and how do I help you guys already build it today?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think in the ways to help, um, until we have this like testnet that we discussed a bit previously, I think the best way is to kind of like help us break down, like help us understand better what are kind of like the questions, like the things that people still don't understand, what still doesn't make sense to people, to spread the word as well. Where we're not paying bots to like our Twitter pages and stuff like this. So, if we can get real humans to actually like talk with us, tell us what they're interested in, what they think we could do better, that really helps. And then eventually, like read our docs, see the thing. We can use some feedback on how our API works in a way. Like, is it convenient to use Neutron? Do you have any suggestions on how to improve, how to connect with the modules that we implemented? What do you think we can build on Neutron? Right? Help us kind of like brainstorm. Like, we had this series, like the Blueprint series, where we made only 2 examples, but 2 examples of cool things that could be built with Neutron. The point of that was to try and give, like, hey, we talked about all of these complex technological features that we bring, right? Now, what can you actually build with them, right? And there's actually a very wide design space here. And figuring out what people want to see and figuring out what becomes possible are 2 very interesting questions. So if we have like kind of like, crypto wizards listening to us today and they want to take a shot at like making a plan for a crazy project, we're happy to hear about it, right? So yeah, there's all this. I think it's going to take some time before everyone can fully join, own, and lead the network. That is definitely the goal, but it takes time to get it set up, basically. And now, in terms of why people need it, I think basically Neutron's mission, Neutron's goal, right, is to kind of like spearhead the growth of the interchain, right? We're gonna bring everything together in this ecosystem where a lot of cool stuff has been built, but is still kind of like fragmented. There's still friction in using the stuff. We're going to bring it together. We're going to create new stuff on top of it. And we're going to make the whole experience get like way more fleshed out, way more interesting, so that, Cosmos really feels like home, basically. And then we're going to convince the rest of Web3 that Cosmos is really cool. We're going to show it to them.
Home kick, home yard. What's the expression? Damn it! I've got it. I didn't get it right, did I? Guys, so I was gonna do a resume, but I think it will be much nicer than we're gonna do what we started doing now. We're gonna, from Citizen Cosmos, this is for all the listeners out there who's listening to us right now, create a nice recap with like that is gonna, I guess, more look like a question and answer maybe, and to try and summarize everything we spoke about Neutron today. And if anybody out there who's listening to us now or later on has any further questions, don't hesitate to reach us out at Citizen Cosmos or the guys directly at Neutron, of course, for any questions. Other than that, I hope that we made it somewhat clearer what Neutron does and who it's for. This is just the beginning. We will carry on that mission, so it's not the end. So thank you very much for joining in. Before I say bye, I'm gonna ask you guys if you want to add anything. I'm sorry, Spaydh, sorry, Mike. I'm sorry I didn't ask that.
I think we covered a lot of the essential stuff, honestly. If there's something to add, let's just come back and do it next time.
Okay, sure. I also think so. I think that there is so much you can take. No, it's true. It goes on better. Guys, thank you very much for your time. Everybody who tuned in, thank you much for listening in. See you guys next time. Bye.